So let's start off with a look at your headlines for this afternoon.
Opposition requests chairmanships for working committees on state institutions and public funds. Government proposes to allow the opposition to probe the energy deal. Parliament debate on electricity tariff. The next move of the 11 independent parties.
අපි පක්ෂවල එකමුතුවෙන් ඒ වගේම ඉදිරියේදී තවත් පක්ෂවල එකමුතුවෙන් ඓතිහාසික සභාවයක් පිහිටවනවා.
Chief of Defence Staff General Shavendra Silva visits Mahanayaka Theros. NASA prepares to launch new era of moon exploration.
The top story this afternoon. The adjournment debate on the difficulties faced by the general public due to the increase in the electricity tariff by a large proportion is taking place in Parliament today. During today's session, the opposition questioned the delay in appointing COPE and COPA.
On several occasions at this house itself, the current president, when he was the Prime Minister, agreed that Harsha De Silva, Kabir Hashim and Iran Vikramaratne will be appointed to chairmanship of the COPE, COPA and Committee on Public Finance. Has there been any changes to that agreement? Or are you making any changes to those decisions? Also, I further suggest you provide the chairmanship of the COPA and COPE committees to the opposition in the future. And will you be changing the standing orders to implement the same? During the party leaders meeting, the Speaker of Parliament promised to provide the COPA and COPE to us. It was June the 2nd. It has been documented as well. Honourable Opposition and Chief Opposition Whip, when the party leaders met at the working committee meeting, since the Speaker was abroad, we all agreed to discuss the matter and come to a conclusion upon the return of the Speaker. The certain party also did not provide their consent to providing the chairmanship of both these committees to the main opposition. That is the reason. To obtain the consent, we agreed to discuss the matter again when the Speaker returns today or tomorrow under the leadership of the Speaker. Until that, we have already announced the details of other committees already. We can resolve the matter when the Speaker returns. However, I'm surprised that when we had the meeting under your leadership, an MP from the ruling faction said the promises made at the peak of the Aragalaya cannot be taken into consideration. When they do things like this, we cannot assess what their vision is. Since the opposition is requesting the chairmanship of all these working committees, as the Energy Minister, I am requesting to appoint a committee on coal and fuel procurement. And it is suitable if the opposition takes this over, especially several former ministers and partly Champika Ranawaka have informed that this can be imported at a lower price. As the subject minister, if you establish such a committee and hand it over to the opposition, I am completely in agreement and will provide the support.
Dr. Harsha De Silva from the Samagi Jana Balawege, who was recently made the chair of the Committee on Public Finance, addressed the Parliament on Monday.
ඇත්තටම මම ගෞරවයෙන් පිළිගන්නවා මුදල් කාර්ක සභාවේ සභාපති කම ඉස්සෙල්ලාම විපක්ෂ නායක සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මහත්මයාට ස්තුතිවන්ත වෙනවා අපේ.
I proudly accept the chairmanship of the Committee on Public Finance. First of all, I am thankful to the opposition leader Sajid Premadasa for proposing my name, to the President for approving it, and to the Select Committee for placing their trust in me. I hope to contribute my best to this committee. Secondly, I must speak about the former chairman, Honorable Priyadarshan Yapa. He managed the committee very well in a professional manner. He always tried to get analysis from the Treasury officials, but he was not given the analysis every time. The Committee on Public Finance did not receive the report on the amendment of taxes from the Treasury. It also did not receive an assessment regarding the fertilizer ban. The entire country knows that those 2 points had a huge impact on the economy. But the Aragalaya constantly spoke of a system change. The government spends on many matters and imposes taxes using its executive powers. The opposition must have the ability to assess those decisions. I see this as a win for democracy.
Meanwhile, a protest organized by the Samagi Jana Balawege was held at the entrance to the Parliament of Sri Lanka on Monday under the theme Stop Corruption, Reduce Electricity Bill.
වර්තමාන රජයත් අසීමිත ලෙස විදුලි බිල වැඩි කරලා තිබෙනවා.
Electricity prices have been increased abnormally. The government engaged in a political gamble. The media of the party that is related to them is carrying out false allegations against the Samagi Jana Balavegia. They say the SJB will take up ministries. They are inviting us to take up ministries. We will not get involved in a gamble of ministers with this government.
සම්බන්ධ වන්නේ නැහැ.
අද රටේ ජනතාව ගහලා මරලා
The people have been battered from every direction. They are extremely helpless. While electricity and fuel prices are skyrocketed, in the future prices of every commodity will rise sharply.
තත්ත්වයක් තමයි අද උදා වෙලා
The Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna has summoned its district leaders to Colombo today. SLPP spokesperson MP Sanjeeva Edirimana says the party district leaders were summoned to discuss the political proceedings in the coming days. The citizens of the Aragalaya organization submitted a letter to the office of the United Nations in Thumulla today, requesting to observe the Prevention of Terrorism Act.
The group also engaged in a silent protest demanding the release of the people arrested under the Prevention of Terrorism Act. The group submitted the letter to the office of the United Nations after the protest.
In
2017, Ranil Wickremesinghe promised the EU that the PTA will not be implemented, adding that it will be amended. If arrests are continuing to be carried out under the PTA, the international community must intervene and help restore freedom of speech. Those being arrested are ordinary citizens of this country. They are not armed revolutionaries. They must not be further remanded under the PTA.
The case filed against MP Vimal Veeravansa and 5 others for staging a protest by obstructing the road when then UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Prince Zaid Rad Al Hussein visited Sri Lanka in 2016 was postponed to the 12th of December.
The case was called up today in the presence of Colombo Chief Magistrate Nandana Amarasinghe. MPs Vimal Veeravansa, Jayantha Samaravira, Veerakumara Disanayaka, Mohammad Musamil, Piyasiri Vijayanayaka, as well as former Western Province Councillor Roger Seniviratne are named as suspects in the case. An all-party program with a proper plan to save the country from the economic crisis must be established. But apart from party leaders trying to gain benefits from this economic crisis, they have not been able to come to a consensus to help the people out of this misery. That is the tragedy in the political arena of this country.
ඔවුන ගොඩ ගැනීම සඳහා එකගතාවයකට එන්න බැරි වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඒක තමයි අපේ රටේ මේ දේශපාලන කරලියේ තියෙන ඛේදවාචකය.
We have discussed that there is no point in discussing further. A course of action must take place. We don't see that happening. Our parties, including other factions, will hold a special discussion on the 4th of September at the Youth Services Council in Maharagama. I am certain that it will be of use when handling not only this crisis but also future crises.
අනාගත අභියෝග සියල්ල ජයගත හැකි සැබෑ ප්‍රගතිශීලී ජනහිතවාදී සභාගයක් බවට පත් වෙනවා නිසකයි.
A Sri Lankan court on Monday called for a report on the inquiry on obstructing the broadcast of the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation.
The Colombo Chief Magistrates Court on Monday ordered Sri Lanka police to provide a progress report on the investigations taking place against Aragalaya activist Danis Ali and several other suspects for allegedly entering the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation premises in Colombo 7 and interfering with its broadcast. Another suspect related to the incident was released on bail on Monday, the 29th. When the matter was called up, the Cinnamon Gardens police noted that the investigations are yet to be concluded. Accordingly, the Cinnamon Gardens police was ordered to produce the progress report on the 26th of September 2022.
Chief of Defence Staff General Shavendra Silva, who was bestowed with the honorary title of Mahamanya Pratapati Keshwara, obtained blessings from the Mahanayaka of the Malwathu chapter, Most Venerable Tibbatu Ave Sri Siddhartha Sumangala Thero, on Monday.
විශේෂයෙන් පවුණු කාලේ සිදුවුණු මේ කොරෝනා රෝගය ඒවගේම ජලගැන්ම ආදියට සහසම්බන්ධව බුදුමහා විශිෂ්ට දේවාවක් ඉතින් එහෙම නොවුණා නම් මේ තත්ත්වය
The Mahanayaka of the Malwathu chapter, Most Venerable Tibbatu Ave Sri Siddhartha Sumangala Thero, also presented General Shavendra Silva with a memento. Thereafter, General Shavendra Silva visited the Anunayaka of the Malwathu chapter of the CM sect, Aggamaha Pandita Anunayaka of the Malwathu chapter, Most Venerable Dr. Niyangoda Vijitasiri Thero. In appreciation of the special service rendered for the country, nation and religion, the Askiri Mahavihara chapter presented the honorary title of Mahamanya Pratapati Keshwara to the Chief of Defence Staff, General Shavendra Silva.
Sri Lankan Minister of Aviation Nimal Siripala de Silva said that 49% of Sri Lankan catering and its shares are to be issued in order to reduce the debt burden of Sri Lankan Airlines. He said the restructuring of the ground handling operations of Sri Lankan Airlines will also generate revenue. Speaking to reporters in Colombo, the minister said that the landing rights of 49% will be issued. However, if Sri Lankan nationals come together to forward a bid for the landing rights, over 50% will be considered to be offered. The price of 1 kilogram of wheat flour in the local market has risen to 350 rupees. Previously, a kilogram of wheat flour was priced only at 84 rupees.
Island Bakery Owners Association says 50 kilograms of wheat flour in the wholesale market is sold at over 17,000 rupees. Its president N.K. Jayawardena says more than 2,000 bakeries across the country have shut down operations amidst the high cost of ingredients. Minister of Agriculture Mahinda Amaraveera says a proposal will be submitted to the Consumer Affairs Authority requesting to permit traders to sell an egg at 50 rupees. However, he pointed out that further action in this regard will be taken after analysing the cost incurred in the manufacturing process. An extraordinary gazette was issued recently setting the maximum retail price of a white egg at 43 rupees and a brown egg at 45 rupees. However, an egg is still priced at around 60 rupees in the market.
News First with the people.
According to the results of the GCE Advanced Level Examinations released yesterday, 62.9% of the students have qualified to enter the universities in Sri Lanka. Isharul Akmal Heen Kanda of Kandagola Mahavidyalaya in Badulla was ranked the first in the island in the art stream at the GCE Advanced Level Examination 2021. Isharul Akmal hails from the remote Muthumala village in Badulla. Nairanda Dilhara Kumarasinghe of Mayurapada Central College in Naramala became the island first in the technology stream. At the same time, IBUN Irugal Bandara was ranked fourth in the technology stream, and he too is from the Mayurapada Central College in Naramala. Sahan Samarakon of Royal College, Colombo was ranked first in the math stream. Ishini Neha Amararatna of Ratnavali Balika Vidyalaya Gampaha was ranked first in the island in the commerce stream. Tamilwan and Tuarugesh of St. Michael's College, Batticaloa was ranked first in the biological science stream. The results of the 2021 GCE Advanced Level Examination were released yesterday. Meanwhile, Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has received a written message from President Ranil Wickremesinghe concerning the bilateral relations that connect the two friendly countries and peoples and means to develop them at all fields. On behalf of Minister of Foreign Affairs, Prince Faisal bin Farhan, Engineer Walid bin Abdul Karim Al Kuriji, Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, received the message at the ministry when he received special envoy of the Sri Lankan President, Minister of Environment Nasir Ahmed. During the meeting, the bilateral relations between the two friendly countries and ways of enhancing them in various fields were discussed. An awards ceremony of the Sri Lankan Nippon Cultural and Educational Centre was held at the Sri Mahinda Ramaya in Sri Jayawardhanapura Kotte yesterday.
During the ceremony, certificates were awarded to students who completed the Japanese language study from the Sri Lankan Nippon Cultural and Educational Centre. Several cultural events were also a part of the ceremony. Several dignitaries, including Secretary General of the Sri Lankan Nippon Cultural and Educational Centre, Venerable Meegahatanne Chandrasiri Nayaka Thero, and Japanese Ambassador to Sri Lanka were present at the event.
Being close friends, Sri Lanka and Japan from the past to the present have conducted many language and cultural exchange programs, allowing the citizens of both countries to know each other and deepen our friendship. Distinguished guests, as you are all aware, this year, 2022, marks the 70th anniversary of the diplomatic ties between Sri Lanka and Japan. During these 70 years, Sri Lanka and Japan, together and individually, faced many challenges in different circumstances. But being true friends, both nations stood up with each other shoulder to shoulder to overcome the hardships. Japan will always remember the Sri Lanka's constant support given the time Japan faced a great earthquake and tsunami in 2011, and recently standing by our side during the condolence period of sudden demise of the former Prime Minister of Japan, Abe Shinzo.
Shifting your attention to international news, NASA prepared to launch new era of moon exploration with its new giant moon rocket.
The American Space Agency is counting down to lift off its giant new moon rocket, the Space Launch System, also known as Artemis. The SLS is the most powerful vehicle ever developed by NASA and will be the foundation of its Artemis project, which aims to put people back on the lunar surface after a nearly 50-year absence. The rocket is set to go up from the Kennedy Space Center. Its job will be to propel a test capsule called Orion far from Earth.
Flash floods triggered by destructive monsoon rains across much of Pakistan have killed more than 1,000 people and injured and displaced thousands more since June.
The new death toll came a day after Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif asked for international help in battling deadly flood damage. More than 33 million people have been displaced. The government has declared an emergency to deal with the monsoon flooding, which began in June and continues to wreak havoc in Pakistan. The National Disaster Management Authority said on Sunday that 119 people had died in the previous 24 hours as heavy rains continue to lash parts of the country. That brought the death toll since mid-June to 1,033, with at least 1,456 injured.
2 skyscrapers illegally built in India have been demolished after a long legal battle.
Crowds watching on from nearby rooftops cheered and clapped as the pair of 103-meter buildings collapsed from a controlled demolition and the dust enveloped the residential area. India's Supreme Court ordered the demolition of the towers in the Noida area last year after a long legal battle found they violated multiple building regulations and fire safety norms. Officials told Indian local media over 3,700 kilograms of explosives were used. Thousands had vacated their apartment near the blast site for about 10 hours, and scores of police and emergency personnel were deployed for demolition of towers containing 850 unoccupied apartments. Firefighters used water sprinklers after the demolition to bring down dust levels around the tower.
A look back at your local news. Sri Lanka Petroleum Private Tankers Association says the island-wide distribution of diesel resumed last night. Its secretary Shanta Silva says the shortage of diesel will be addressed in the next 2 days.
Long queues were observed near filling stations in Gampaha for several days. Long lines of vehicles were observed at filling stations in Union Place this morning. Diesel stocks were received to Butterpula in Galle after a week, and long lines were observed to pump diesel. The All Island Private Bus Owners Association says considerable number of buses are in operation, although there's a shortage of fuel. Its chairman, Gamunu Wijeratna, says all buses can be operated provided that there is a continuous supply of fuel. We can't provide school transport services from tomorrow. The Energy Minister does not know when the vessel arrives at the port. After it arrives, the country does not have funds to pay. Then they have to make late payment charges. The Energy Minister doesn't know that there's no diesel in the market. The CPC issues announcements that sufficient stocks of fuel are available. We don't see the same in the market.
In your sports news, Max Verstappen came from 14th position on the starting grid to win the Belgian Grand Prix on Sunday.
Out and away we go. Sainz reacts quickest.
That will bring to a close this edition of Lunchtime News on TV1. For details of these stories and much more, simply log on to our website www.newsfirst.lk. For the News First, where the people come first, I'm Martin Sathines, and you take care and stay safe.
ඇත්ත කෙටියෙන් දත්ත වැඩියෙන් සයිබර් අවකාශයේ කලබන වුවත් සලකුණ News First YouTube channel එක අදම subscribe කරන්න. News First ජනතාව සමග